Before you listen to anything else, pause for a moment. Look at where you are right now, not around you, inside you. Because if you clicked on this message, it was not random, it was not an accident, it was not just another video passing through your screen. There is a weight in your heart that you have not spoken about, a quiet distance growing between you and the world, a feeling that life is moving, but you are being held back for a reason you cannot explain. And tonight, I want you to listen as if this is not a video. Listen as if this is a moment, because there are two kinds of people who hear messages like this: those who let it pass through their ears, and those who feel it settle into their soul. If you are in the second group, this is for you. There comes a point in every believer's life where Allah does something that looks like loss from the outside, but feels like pressure from the inside. People fade, plans stall, doors close, and the world becomes quieter around you. And you begin to ask the question that no one else hears. Ya Allah, why does my life feel like it is being pulled away from everything I once knew? But what if the real question is not why things are leaving? What if the real question is what is being prepared to arrive? Because Allah does not separate a heart without intention. He does not create distance without direction. He does not lead a soul into quiet unless He plans to speak to it there. This is the moment in your life where you either turn back to the noise or you step forward into the meaning, where you either try to blend back into the crowd or you accept that your path is being made narrower for a reason. And I need you to understand something before we go any further. This message is not for everyone. It is not for the one who is comfortable. It is not for the one who is satisfied with surface-level faith. It is not for the one who wants a life that looks good instead of a heart that stands strong. This is for the one who feels chosen but does not yet understand why. For the one who feels separated but does not yet see the purpose. For the one who walks through their days carrying a quiet question in their chest. Why does my life feel different? If that question lives inside you, do not rush past this moment, because what you are about to hear is not about motivation. It is not about comfort. It is about recognition. Recognition of what Allah is doing in your life while the world thinks nothing is happening. So listen slowly, not with your ears, with your heart, because this may be the moment you realize that the loneliness you feel is not abandonment. It is invitation. An invitation to walk a path that not everyone is meant to understand, but one that Allah Himself has chosen to walk with you. Allah did not pull you away from them. He pulled the world away from what He is creating in you. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me stay with you here for a little longer, because this moment in your life is not small, even if it feels quiet. There comes a time when you wake up and something inside you feels shifted. You still walk the same streets. You still sit in the same rooms. You still speak to the same people. But your heart does not land in the same place anymore. The laughter feels lighter. The conversations feel shorter. The connection feels thinner. And you begin to look at yourself and ask, why do I feel like I no longer belong where I once felt at home? And that question can hurt, because belonging matters to the human heart. Being seen matters. Being understood matters. So when that sense of closeness starts to fade, it can feel like a loss. But listen to this gently. Sometimes Allah does not remove you because you are unwanted. Sometimes He removes you because you are outgrowing what once held you. There are seasons in life where your soul becomes wider than the space it is standing in. You begin to crave meaning instead of noise, depth instead of distraction, sincerity instead of surface. And when that happens, the old environment begins to feel heavy, not because it is wrong, but because it can no longer carry the weight of who you are becoming. So Allah creates distance, not as a punishment, not as a sign of failure, but as an act of care. Just as a gardener moves a young plant away from harsh winds so its roots can grow stronger, Allah moves you away from constant voices, constant expectations, constant pressures, so your inner foundation can deepen. In the quiet, you begin to hear yourself think again. In the space, you begin to notice what truly matters to you. In the stillness, you begin to feel your connection with Allah more clearly, and this can feel uncomfortable at first, because when the noise fades, your own thoughts become louder, your own doubts surface, your own wounds show themselves. But this is part of the healing. This is part of the building. You may look around and feel like others are moving ahead, building lives, building families, building success, and you feel like you are standing still. But what you do not see is that Allah is building you, not your appearance, not your reputation, but your heart. He is teaching you how to sit with yourself without running, how to stand without leaning on constant approval, how to breathe without needing someone else to hold you steady. And this is not a small thing, because a heart that can stand alone with Allah can stand strong in any crowd. You begin to learn the difference between being surrounded and being supported, between being noticed and being known, between being followed and being guided. And slowly you start to feel a different kind of closeness, not always with people, but with Allah, in your prayers, in your quiet moments, in your private thoughts, in the way your heart turns to Him without being told. This is the world being pulled back so something deeper can be formed inside you. So if you feel like doors are closing, it does not always mean you are being shut out. Sometimes it means you are being led inward. If you feel like your circle is shrinking, it does not always mean you are being left behind. Sometimes it means you are being protected. And if you feel like you are walking alone, it does not always mean you are abandoned. Sometimes it means you are being accompanied by the one who does not need a crowd to be close to you. This season is not about becoming invisible. It is about becoming anchored. It is about learning who you are when the labels fall away, when the roles fade, when the applause disappears. And when you come through this, you do not come back the same. You come back steadier, quieter, clearer, not needing to chase the world, because you have learned how to walk with Allah. And that, my dear brother, my dear sister, is not loss. That is preparation. This silence is not absence. It is Allah carving your soul into something the crowd cannot carry. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels the quiet most deeply. There is a kind of silence that does not come when the room is empty. It comes when life itself becomes quieter around you. Fewer messages, fewer invitations, fewer voices asking for your time, your opinion, your presence. And in that stillness, you begin to wonder if you have been forgotten. You sit with your thoughts longer than you used to. You notice your own breathing. You feel your own heart in ways you never had time to before. And sometimes that can feel uncomfortable, even frightening, because silence has a way of revealing what noise was hiding. But understand this gently. This silence is not Allah stepping away from you. This silence is Allah stepping closer than the world ever did. There are things that cannot be taught in crowds. There are lessons that do not survive in constant movement. Some truths only settle in the heart when everything else becomes still. So Allah slows your world down. He takes away some of the distractions that once filled your days. He removes some of the voices that once shaped your choices. He creates a space where you can no longer run from yourself. And in that space, the carving begins. Just as a sculptor removes what does not belong to reveal what was always hidden inside the stone, Allah begins to remove from your heart what no longer serves your faith. Old fears, old attachments, old habits of thinking that kept you small, kept you dependent, kept you uncertain about your own worth. This process is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is slow and personal. You may notice that things you once chased no longer excite you. You may find that certain conversations no longer feed you. You may feel a distance growing between who you were and who you are becoming. And that distance can feel like loss. But often it is release. Because what Allah is shaping inside you is not meant to be carried by the crowd. It is not meant to be shaped by every opinion, every trend, every passing voice. It is meant to be anchored in something deeper, something steadier, something eternal. In this silence, you begin to hear your own conscience more clearly. You begin to notice when something feels right and when something feels heavy. You begin to recognize the quiet pull of guidance instead of the loud push of pressure. You start to realize that not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every open door is meant for you. Not every path that looks easy leads somewhere good. And these realizations do not usually come in busy rooms. They come in quiet hearts. You may feel like you are behind others, like their lives are moving faster while yours is moving inward. But inward movement is not backward movement. It is depth. Allah is giving you depth. Depth in how you think, depth in how you feel, depth in how you turn to Him. And when you eventually step back into the world more fully, you will not carry the same fragility you once did. You will carry a steadiness that was built when no one else was watching. So if your life feels quieter than it used to, do not rush to fill the space. Do not chase noise just to avoid feeling the stillness. Sit in it, because in this silence, Allah is shaping a heart that does not need the crowd to know who it is. A heart that knows where it stands, even when it stands alone. And that, my dear brother, my dear sister, is not absence. That is presence. The presence of Allah working within you in ways that cannot be seen yet, but will one day be felt in everything you touch. Allah shrunk your circle, so your destiny would not be diluted by smaller purposes. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the quiet ache you feel when you realize that your world has become smaller. There was a time when your days were filled with people, messages, plans, faces, voices, laughter that spilled into the night. You felt surrounded. You felt included. You felt like you belonged somewhere. And now you look around and there is more space, more quiet, more empty moments, more time alone with your own thoughts. And in those moments, the heart can whisper something painful. What happened to everyone? But listen to this with softness. Sometimes Allah does not make your circle smaller because you are losing something. Sometimes He makes it smaller because you are being given something. Because not every voice that walks with you is meant to shape you. Not every presence around you is meant to guide you. Some people bring comfort, some people bring familiarity. But not everyone brings direction. When your circle is large, your heart begins to stretch in many directions at once. You start to care about many opinions, many expectations, many versions of who you should be. And slowly, without realizing it, your own purpose can become blurred. So Allah does something protective. He begins to narrow your world. Not in a harsh way, not in a sudden way, but in a way that feels almost natural. Someone becomes busy. Someone drifts away. Someone no longer understands your priorities. And you are left with fewer people around you, but more clarity inside you. With fewer voices, you begin to hear your own values more clearly. You start to notice what aligns with your faith and what quietly pulls you away from it. You begin to feel the difference between what feels good in the moment and what feels right in the long term. This smaller circle teaches you something the larger one could not. It teaches you how to choose depth over volume, sincerity over popularity, truth over approval. You begin to realize that being known by many is not the same as being understood by even one. And sometimes Allah removes the many so you can recognize the few who truly see your heart. And even beyond people, Allah teaches you something deeper still. He teaches you how to walk without constantly checking who is walking beside you. You begin to make choices not because they are celebrated, but because they are sincere. You begin to move forward not because you are supported, but because you are guided. And that changes the way you carry yourself in the world. You become quieter in your confidence, steadier in your decisions, less shaken by who stays and who leaves, because you start to understand that your destiny is not a group project. It is a personal journey between your heart and Allah. So if your circle feels smaller today, do not measure your life by the number of people around you. Measure it by the clarity within you. Because a life with fewer voices and stronger direction is often richer than a life with many voices and no true path. This shrinking is not subtraction, it is refinement. Allah is not taking away what you need, He is taking away what would have made you forget where you were truly meant to go. You were led into the shadows because your next life cannot be forged in the open. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels unseen. There is a quiet pain in not being noticed, in doing your best and feeling like no one is watching, in growing, changing, trying, and yet standing in a place where your efforts do not seem to echo back to you. You may look at others and see their lives unfolding in public, their achievements celebrated, their voices heard, their presence recognized. And then you look at yourself and feel like you are walking in a softer light, where fewer eyes follow your steps. And the heart can ask, why am I here, in this place where no one seems to see what I am becoming? But listen to this gently. Every strong thing in this world is formed away from attention. A seed does not grow in the open air. A foundation is not built above the ground. A root does not stretch itself toward the sun. They all grow in hidden places first. And your soul is no different. Allah does not always build His servants in front of people. Sometimes He builds them in places where only He is watching. Because when growth happens in public, it can become about being seen. But when growth happens in private, it becomes about being sincere. In this shadowed season, you begin to do things without an audience. You begin to choose what is right without someone clapping for you. You begin to turn away from what is easy, even when no one would know if you didn't. And this is where character is formed, because anyone can appear strong when they are being watched. But strength that lasts is built when no one is looking. You may feel like your life has slowed down, like opportunities are fewer, like doors are not opening as quickly as they do for others, and it can be tempting to rush, to push, to make noise just to be noticed. But Allah is teaching you something far more valuable than attention. He is teaching you patience. He is teaching you how to trust His timing instead of chasing your own. In this quiet place, you begin to see your intentions more clearly. You start to notice why you want what you want. You begin to ask yourself if your goals are rooted in faith or in comparison. And this honesty with yourself can be uncomfortable, but it is also freeing. Because once you know who you are becoming for Allah, you no longer need to become something for people. This season also protects you. If success came too early, it could distract you. If recognition came too soon, it could change you. If influence came before humility, it could harm you. So Allah keeps you in the shadows a little longer, not to deny you the light, but to prepare you to stand in it without losing yourself. And one day, when you do step into a wider space, you will carry something that cannot be taught in the open. You will carry steadiness. You will carry sincerity. You will carry a heart that knows how to stay grounded even when it is seen. So if you feel like you are walking in a quiet lane while others walk in busy streets, do not assume you are behind. You may be in a workshop, not a waiting room, a place where Allah is shaping you carefully, slowly and deeply. And when the time comes for your path to open into a wider world, what was built in the shadows will stand in the light without breaking, because it was not formed for attention, it was formed for purpose. Allah shattered your reliance on everything else, so your heart would stand only with Him. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the moment in your life that felt like everything you leaned on began to slip away at the same time. There is a kind of pain that does not come from one loss, but from many small supports disappearing quietly. A person you trusted becomes distant. A plan you believed in begins to fall apart. A door you expected to open stays closed. And suddenly you feel exposed, like you are standing in the middle of life with nothing solid to hold on to. And the heart asks a difficult question: why is everything being taken from me at once? But listen to this gently. Sometimes Allah does not remove things to leave you empty. Sometimes he removes them to show you what was never meant to carry the weight of your heart. Because as long as your peace depends on people, their presence becomes your stability. As long as your confidence depends on outcomes, their success becomes your worth. As long as your security depends on plans, their failure becomes your fear. So Allah loosens your grip, not to make you fall, but to teach you how to stand. This is the season where you begin to realize how much you were leaning outward instead of upward, how often you searched for reassurance in voices instead of in prayer, how often you waited for permission from the world instead of guidance from Allah. And when those outward supports fade, you are gently turned inward. At first it feels like weakness. You feel smaller, more uncertain, more aware of your limits. But what is really happening is something deeper. You are learning humility. You begin to recognize that you were never meant to carry life alone. You were never meant to control every outcome. You were never meant to hold your own heart steady without help from the one who created it. So you start to turn to Allah differently, not only when you are desperate, not only when you are afraid, but when you are calm. When you are thinking, when you are choosing, you begin to ask for guidance before making decisions. You begin to seek peace instead of proof. You begin to trust that even when you do not understand the path, it is still being held by hands stronger than your own. And something inside you shifts. Your heart becomes quieter. Your reactions become softer. Your fears become lighter, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer carrying it by yourself. This season also teaches you the difference between attachment and trust. Attachment says, I am okay because this is here. Trust says, I am okay because Allah is here. And when your heart learns that difference, it becomes harder for the world to shake you. You may still feel disappointment. You may still feel sadness. You may still feel uncertainty. But you no longer feel alone inside it. Because now, when something falls away, your heart does not fall with it. When a door closes, your faith does not close with it. When a person leaves, your worth does not leave with them. You begin to carry a deeper kind of stability, a stability that does not come from what you have, but from who you walk with. So, if this season feels like everything you depended on is being stripped back, do not rush to replace it with something new. Do not fill the space too quickly. Let the space teach you. Let it show you how strong a heart can become when it learns to lean on Allah instead of the world. Because a heart that stands with Him does not collapse when everything else moves. It remains steady. Not because life is gentle, but because faith has become its foundation. And that, my dear brother, my dear sister, is not loss. That is unshakable strength being formed quietly inside you. This path feels lonely because it is a road Allah reserved for the ones He intends to use deeply. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that wonders why your journey does not look like everyone else's. There is a quiet confusion that comes when you look around and see people moving together, building lives side by side, sharing milestones, celebrating in groups, and you, somehow, feel like you are walking on a path that runs just a little apart from the main road, not completely cut off, but not fully blended in either. And in those moments, the heart can ask, why does my life feel different? Why does my story feel slower, heavier, more inward than the stories I see around me? But listen to this gently. Not every road is meant for everyone. Some paths are wide because they are meant to carry many people at once. They are visible, busy, full of signs and directions and noise. You can walk them without thinking too deeply because the movement of the crowd carries you forward. But some paths are narrow. They are quieter, less marked, more personal. And on these roads, you cannot rely on the crowd to guide you. You have to rely on something deeper. You have to rely on Allah. This is why this path feels lonely at times. Because it is not designed to be walked by following others. It is designed to be walked by listening inwardly, by praying more than you speak, by reflecting more than you react. Allah gives these paths to hearts. He wants to shape deeply, not quickly. In this loneliness, you begin to learn patience that does not depend on results. You learn consistency that does not depend on recognition. You learn faith that does not depend on ease. You begin to do the right thing even when it costs you comfort. You begin to stay steady even when you do not see immediate reward. You begin to trust even when you do not see the full picture. And these are not small lessons, because a heart that can remain sincere without being celebrated can remain humble even when it is elevated. This road also teaches you something about comparison. When you walk beside others, it is easy to measure your progress against theirs, to feel behind, to feel ahead, to feel pressure to match their pace. But when you walk alone, that noise fades. You begin to move at the pace your own soul needs. You begin to focus on your own healing, your own growth, your own relationship with Allah, instead of constantly checking where everyone else is standing. And in that space, your faith becomes more personal. Your prayers become more honest. Your intentions become more clear. Your choices become more deliberate. You stop living a life that looks good from the outside, and you begin to build a life that feels right on the inside. This path also prepares you for something many people are not ready for. It prepares you to carry responsibility without losing softness, to hold influence without losing humility, to be strong without becoming hard. Because when Allah intends to use a heart deeply, He first teaches it how to stay grounded when no one is around to remind it who it is. So if this season of your life feels quiet and solitary, do not rush to escape it. Do not assume it is a sign that something went wrong. Sometimes it is a sign that something meaningful is being entrusted to you, a trust that requires steadiness, a role that requires sincerity, a future that requires a heart anchored in Allah more than in people. One day, you will look back at this lonely road and see it differently. You will see it as the place where your faith became your companion, where your confidence stopped coming from the world and started coming from your relationship with Allah. And you will realize that you were never truly walking alone. You were walking with the one who chose this path for you, because He saw something in you worth preparing carefully. And that, my dear brother, my dear sister, is not loneliness. That is purpose unfolding quietly, step by step, between your heart and Allah. Let me leave you with this gently, not as an ending, but as something you carry with you when the screen goes dark and the room becomes quiet again. You may still wake up tomorrow and feel that same distance, the same quiet, the same sense that your life is unfolding away from the noise of the world. And now, instead of fighting it, I want you to recognize it. Recognize it as a space where Allah meets you without interruption. Recognize it as a place where your heart is being strengthened, not emptied. Recognize it as a season where you are being prepared, not pushed aside. You do not need to rush back into the crowd to prove that you belong. You do not need to make noise to prove that you matter. You do not need to chase attention to prove that you are alive, because the one who created you already sees you, already knows you, already walks with you in the moments no one else ever will. So when the night feels long, turn to Him. When the path feels narrow, trust Him. When the silence feels heavy, sit with Him. Let your heart become a place where you return, not run from. Let your faith become something you carry quietly, not something you display loudly. Let your life become a journey you walk with sincerity, not a performance you give to the world. And one day, without announcement, without noise, without warning, you will look back at this quiet season and understand it. You will understand why the road became narrow, why the circle became small, why the world stepped back. Because this was the place where your relationship with Allah stopped being something you had and became something you lived. So go gently, go sincerely, go with patience. You are not walking a forgotten path. You are walking a path that is being watched, guided, and held by the one who never lets a sincere heart walk alone.